Everybody knows about the legendary gas station chain from Texas called Buc-ee's, who are currently experiencing an exponential expansion of locations and territory, and also have become a substantial social media subject with an emphatic fan base, featured in countless content contributions. I've been to the claimed world's largest truck stop, Iowa 80, and as of October 2025, just the second operational location in existence of what seems to be a completely Buc-ee's-inspired gas station chain called Wally's. But I have not yet been to an actual Buc-ee's, so I don't have a clip of one to show you in this film. However, I do have something much rarer for you: stale, dated, innocuous, and previously unpublished construction and other opportunistic footage of Wally's St. Louis location, which is actually in Fenton, Missouri, a separate municipal township of St. Louis County in the outer suburbs, approximately 16.07 miles southwest of the Arch. But I suppose you would like a synopsis about how Wally's came to be and whatnot, so here's a thinly researched report to appease you. 35 years after the first Buc-ee's opened in Texas, two bored business buddies brainstormed about an awesome all-American gas station destination while on a road trip from Colorado to their rural Missouri home. Too far south to enjoy the Iowa 80 truck stop and 2 states north of any existing Buc-ee's, they decided they were the ones to fill the landmark travel center-shaped hole in their heart, presumably somewhere along Interstate 70. Now, I would presume these guys at least knew about Buc-ee's, especially as members of the Wallace family, who own a slew of convenience store operations that include on-the-run stores found throughout the St. Louis metro area. Originally called Mobile on the Run, the name branding first appeared on flagship locations seemingly intended to mimic and target Quick Trip, who was forcing the local C-store market to up its game away from the dingy, low-effort gas station standard that prevailed in the dark days before they came to town. In those days, it was much more common to see fuel stops consist of just 8 pumps, surrounding a bulletproof toll booth full of cigarettes and stale candy bars that could be purchased through a low truss slit in the window, while soft drinks had to be obtained from a separate vending machine in the parking lot. Therefore, it makes sense that entrepreneurs would also notice the king-size tourist-targeted travel center trend writing on the wall, so Wallace willed Wally's into the world to get a bit of Buc-ee's bite. Interestingly, it worked out that the first Wally's location would manifest along a completely different interstate in a completely different U.S. state, namely I-55 in Pontiac, Illinois, with the very apt address of 1 Holiday Road. Slated for an Independence Day launch in 2020 but delayed until September because we all know why, it opened to much fanfare and positive reception, understandably, as Buc-ee's at the time was essentially still just a Texas thing, who themselves were stymied from getting any of their planned out-of-state expansions officially up and running until 2021. Certainly there was an imperative for these Missouri boys to establish at least one location in their home state, and so at least 2 sites were sought and selected in opposite ends of it. This St. Louis one in Fenton, and a Kansas City one that officially resides in Independence, Missouri. Fun fact, there's a Buc-ee's down in the southwest corner of Missouri near Springfield along I-44, making the state the only one to have both a Wally's and a Buc-ee's. The Fenton store opened in March 2025 to a madhouse reception, as these events have become very vogue, with the other Missouri location and one in Indiana to come online in 2024, which apparently didn't happen, likely due to modern bureaucratical complications regarding fossil fuel infrastructure that has become a bane for the enlightened city administrator. There is good news on the front regarding the Independence store, however. As of September 2025, the local planning council finally voted to approve the project, which means after months, maybe years, of planning and process, they can finally go ahead and wait for the next committee of the chain to discuss, review, and vote on whether or not the development will be permitted. But that's enough of that. Here's where they built the Fenton destination, on part of this massive parcel that was home to a major Chrysler automotive assembly plant for 50 years before closing in 2009. After a decade of debate about how to replace this former economic pillar, piecemeal development began to sprout mostly as a corporate logistics park. The only obvious retail invited to the party is the Wally's, smartly parked in the front corner just past the Bowles Avenue exit ramp. Across this series of video clips, it can be noted the Fenton Wallies took about a year to construct, during which entire buildings nearby went from groundbreaking to operational. But of course, building a touristy gas station from the ground up is more complicated than what is essentially a pre-manufactured warehouse. If you look, you can notice even an all-new fire station sprang up across the road and nearly beat them to the ribbon-cutting punch. This national novelty nested more or less in my backyard, which I noticed organically along with the old Orange family truckster ornaments decorating the parking lot before I knew how fledgling the brand was. There was one coated in Wally's orange livery on site at the launch, later followed by a second, and then a white one showed up, seemingly as a newly acquired addition to a collection, and presumably awaiting its own vehicular mascot uniform at some paint booth while single-handedly driving up the used AMC Wagoneer market. They did add a blue Winnebago to the parking lot that appears to be just like the orange one converted to a sales display inside. Perhaps too, it is fated to be a roadside flare today and a candy counter in the future, which at least would make this recording of it instantly historical. Today it looks like only one parcel of the business park hasn't been developed yet, but that's just a matter of time probably, as each build makes not only a change in the landscape, but also marks a point on the map of time. And one day, all this new construction will also become worn out and no longer fit for purpose, demolished and likely replaced. No need to worry about that now, however. It's just as possible this gimmicky gas station will live longer than the industrial behemoth that came before it. The future of Wally's is yet to be written, and quite likely the bear will never catch the beaver in terms of size, recognition, or respect, but that shouldn't be considered a disparagement. Missing half their own location expansion predictions could be a bad sign, or just due to circumstances beyond their control, and I see nothing wrong with a careful, steady approach to market establishment and growth if it upholds a high standard. This doesn't appear to be some half-baked copycat effort to me, but rather a smart and well-planned vertically integrated business model with a real chance at being a player in the chase for fancy theme park gas and grubs. Even if another Wally's is never built, the fact even two were created is a success in my book and will always have a place in history and the hearts and minds and memories of those who visit, even if only once. Unfortunately, I have a very limited amount of typically useful footage on hand from the inside, or anything enlightening to say about what they have to offer in comparison and contrast to Buc-ee's. I have only been to this one Wally's a handful of times, but I found the experience and amenities overall positive, and I really appreciate all the retro theming, products, and decoration, and I certainly hope for their future success. Thank you for watching.